I had a client who was charged with a crime, and by the time I had gotten his case, he had been held in custody 1,592 days and had only had 2 court dates, which he was never brought for, and no hearing date set, and was missing out on his family and seeing his children grow up and his elderly mother who needed him desperately. And I was able to get a rush hearing in on a speedy trial basis, and we were able to get him out within 2 days from that hearing date. So it was great to see his mother happy, because I think they had lost all faith, and the ability to give them that hope again was a big moment for me.
One of my colleagues, as a public defender, he had a client who missed court. She was accused of a DWI. She was arrested for the DWI, and for the missing court for the DWI. He attempted to get her bail bond reduced. The judge wouldn't do it because she had missed court the first time. So he attempted to have her plead guilty to the offense. This is a woman who had children, who was working, who needed to get out of jail in order to get back to her life. The reason she missed court in the first place was because she didn't have adequate child care. My colleague she wanted to plead guilty to the charges so that she would be able to get back home, take whatever punishment. The judge wouldn't allow her to do that, wouldn't allow him to do that either. She went back into jail. A day or a couple of days later, she killed herself. She hung herself. The money bail system is literally costing people their lives. When essentially what we're saying is that because you don't have enough money, because you're poor, you don't deserve to be back on the streets and then come back into court. If I have the money, if I'm wealthy, then that means that my value is greater than someone who was poor, because then I can get out of jail and come back to court, or even if I don't come to court and get rearrested, because I have the money and the means, then I still have the opportunity to get out of jail, get back to my job. So when we get involved as a public defender, getting involved in a case, when we're able to get someone's bail unsecured or get them out on bail, one, we may be saving that person's life, as is evidenced by my colleague's case. Two, we may be allowing that person to get back to their job, which means that then they're able to keep their job so that so they're not getting involved in criminal activity later on because they lost their job. We're able to get them back with their children so they're not ending up having to go through some process of getting their children out of DSS custody or anything like that. So we're helping to keep families together. Getting involved early because of our money bail system is a way that we're protecting clients and the community, ultimately.
Specifically, how I think that the system really kind of punishes people with collateral consequences. I have a very recent case where this really kind of hit home, and the person was not necessarily elderly, but in his late 60s. He was in very bad health. And he went into custody with a degenerative eye condition. And he ended up, because he was on disability, that was the only form of income he had. And obviously once he got charged with felonies and was in jail, the disability was cut off. So without a source of income, he actually stayed in custody until we could finally work out a plea offer many months later. I believe it was actually 8 months later. And during that time, he lost over 90% of his eyesight. He was kind of the victory that came out of it. We were able to PJC him on a trafficking case long enough for him to get out and get his eye surgery before sentencing. Basically, he went in and pled guilty to the trafficking offense because it's a mandatory active sentence that he should have gotten. He was basically judgment was continued in the case. Sentencing was not entered. He was not forced to go on into custody at that time, and the judge allowed him to be sentenced at a later time.